Hello friends, I'm Marty and welcome to another video. In today's video we will be doing front brakes, front pads and rotors on the 2011 Subaru Legacy. Along the way I'll just show you some stuff here and there, but I'm going to begin by taking the wheel off. And the lug nut size is 19 millimeter on this car here. So we'll begin by, like I said, we'll pull the wheel off. I already got the rotors and the pads, so I want to discuss not just the brake job itself, how to do it, but I want to discuss some problems that you run into sometimes and how to check it, like a frozen caliper or a collapsed brake hose, and I want to show you how to check it. So let me get the wheel off and then we'll continue. Okay, so let me get the camera set up so you can see what's going on, and I'll be back in about 2 seconds. Okay, so now we're going to remove the pins that hold the caliper to the caliper bracket, and they're 14 millimeter. See how many times I could bang my head on the fender. Okay, so there's something I want to talk about right now. Once you take the caliper off, I'll show you how I squeeze the piston back in. There's a couple of ways you could do it. They actually sell a tool. It's like a scissor, and what you would do is take the caliper and put the pads in there, and then you would just turn it and crank it until the piston goes in. Okay, now let's say the piston won't go in and you're squeezing, and yeah, you would think right off the bat that you have a seized caliper, why the piston won't go in. Alright, there's one way that you could eliminate the problems by checking this. Loosen the bleeder and then try it. If it's still too hard to press in, take the bleeder all the way out, and then it's still too hard to press in, that means the caliper's no good. Now, there'll be times where you have a collapsed rubber hose here, and when you go to squeeze the piston in, with the bleeder in, you won't be able to squeeze the piston in. But if you loosen the bleeder, and you know the bleeder's not clogged, the piston will go right in. So that'll indicate a collapsed hose. So if you take this all the way out, the bleeder all the way out, and you still can't get the piston in, that means you got to replace the calipers. Now, the best way to replace the brake parts is always in pairs. Even though the left side, let's say, the caliper's fine, but the right side seized, you should always do it in pairs, because once one seizes, the other one's not too far behind. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so we're going to take this off and I'll show you how I squeeze the caliper in. I'm ill prepared. I didn't bring that portion of I didn't bring the vice grip out that I use. So while we're here, let me just pop this off here right now. Oh, this has a double piston caliper. Wow, that's pretty good. I was wondering why these rotors were really heavy. So, yeah, the pads are pretty worn out, 95%. As the dealer told Miss Lisa they were, because they usually like to lie. Sometimes they tell you they're 90% worn out, but they're like 10% worn. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop this pad out here. What I like to do is, like the inner pad, lay it down. We're working with a piece of wood. Lay it down to the left, the outer pad, lay it to the right. Make sure you put the pads back on in the same way as you took them off, because this has the warning sensor on the bottom here, and you want the warning sensor to be on the bottom. Now, when we did my 92 Toyota 4Runner brakes, the inner and outer pads were actually different. You know, I remember when I first got my other 94 4Runner years ago, 20-something years ago, I did the brakes on it. I was able to get the pads in. I put the calipers on, but I couldn't spin the rotor because part of the pad was hitting right in here, right in the rotor, and I couldn't spin it. That's why there's a left and a right side. So that's enough babbling, and let's get moving here. I'll squeeze the piston in here. Can you see if that's aiming up here? You use the handle too. Here. Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this in here like this, and we're going to squeeze the pistons in. I don't even know, did I bring that out here? That's cool. So that's all the way up there. Alright, so I put the pad, since it's a double caliper piston, usually I'll just take this and stick it into the, if it's a single piston, I just stick this end in, keep squeezing and tightening and squeezing and tightening. Now I want to see if I can get this in here right now. Well, it's a little bit of a pain, but let's see if we can. I want both pistons to go in at once. I'm sure everything's in my way, in your way, my knee, everything here. But I'll kind of show you as we go. I have to try to get this situated where we're in. It's going in pretty nice. Can you look in the camera, please, and make sure we're still where you can see this vice grip and everything going on here?
Yeah.
So this is working out pretty good here with this. So you can see both pistons are good, they're going in. Like I was talking about before, you could be tricked by a clogged bleeder. You could buy the bleeders up at the parts store. I'm just going to do the one side with you, and then I'll just do the other side off camera. You don't need to see both sides done, but I just want to explain that thing with you about the seized pistons in the calipers.
One side is in farther than the other.
Yeah. As Miss Lisa pointed out, one side is in further than the other, so I might have to move the vice grip over up here. Good eye. I might have to move the vice grip up here to squeeze the other one into. And we just move it and squeeze. I'm kind of like right on center now, so both pistons should go in all the way. Always do one side at a time, because if you take the other caliper off the other side, I've seen it happen where, and I probably did it myself when I was a rookie mechanic. If you squeeze the one side in and you don't have, and the caliper's off the other side, sometimes the piston on the other side will pop out, and then you got a problem. I know it's taking longer than it should, but alright, this seems to be all the way in. Both pistons are all the way in, so we can take this off now. Okay, so since we're changing the calipers, the calipers, since we're changing the rotors, what we're going to want to do next is, sometimes you could just hang these up with a hanger or something. You really shouldn't let them hang down on the hose. Or you can just stick it up in here. Like that. Yeah. I'll take this other pad out here. What do I do with the other pad?
It's behind you here.
Okay. Okay, so now we have to take off the caliper bracket here. And I don't know if I can get a socket in there. I'm just going to turn the camera off for now and see what we got to do there.
We don't.
Okay, friends. The top bolt, I couldn't use a socket, so what I did was, and these were on here really tight, so what I did was I stuck the wrench on here to loosen them, and I had the wrench so it was on, so it faced out this way some, and then I just used this pipe and I just broke it loose with the pipe, and then the lower one I was able to use the socket with the ratchet, and I saw how to put the pipe on it. I put the pipe on it and loosened it. Those bolts that hold the caliper support bracket, they're 17 millimeter. So we're going to take that off now. Take these bolts out. Okay, so I think you can see from there. Miss Lisa, can you look in the camera and see if you can see what's going on here? Okay, so when the caliper's on, these are the holes here for where the calipers screw on. This is threaded, this is threaded. Okay, so you want to make sure that these points go in and out really easy. If these get seized once in a while, if they're seized, your brakes are going to hang up or you're not going to be able to get the brakes back together. So you want to make sure of that. And what I normally do is I take a wire brush and clean all this up in here. And those are the sliders for the pads. And I put some anti-seize on there so everything slides in and out real good, doesn't seize up on you. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the rotor off. Are we aiming towards the rotor here, where my finger is? Okay. Sometimes these rotors are tough to get off. You're going to have to beat them with a hammer. So the safest way I found is, so you don't mess up the lug nut threads, stick all your bolts back on here. So if you miss with the hammer, you're not hitting the stud. Wrong bolt. Sometimes you might want to take some DW40 and spray around where the studs come out and around where the hub is here and spray it up real good. And then you start beating it. You can beat this anywhere with the hammer. You can beat it anywhere because you're changing the rotors. Doesn't really matter. While I was disassembling everything, what I should have did was I should have actually sprayed all this down first. This lug nut don't want to start. If you can't get a lug started, sometimes if you switch with another one, it'll start. This one still is a little tight though. So I'm going to switch it with another one. She had tires put on the car and a bunch of youngsters. Cross-threaded stuff, and these two studs here are brand new. They cross-threaded them, snapped them off. What a mess it was. That'll be alright. I'll spray everything up with WD before we put everything back on.
That's probably the one they had the different one on.
Yeah, it could be. But the threads are the same though. It's just that these are acorn nuts here, and this is just a regular lug nut here. What a mess. I'm going to give it a couple of shots with the hammer without spraying it yet. I think there's a sledgehammer over there in case you got to use it. It popped. Alright, that's off. And I got a nice ear rake on that too. But that's alright. It's all part of the job. Alright, so I'll be back to you soon. Okay, so let's get back to it. Forgot to open. Can you open this box? Finish this here. Okay, so I got the new rotor on here. Sometimes it's a good idea to stick like a lug nut on here to keep the rotor from moving around, so you can put your bracket back on, the caliper bracket. And what I did so far is what I said I was going to do. I sprayed this all down with brake clean here, and I wire brushed it, and I put some anti-seize on there. This way it'll be easier for the pads to go in and out, and you won't have any pads getting stuck while you're braking. So, okay, so we'll stick this back in here. Guys, why the heck can't we make any videos with any background noise here? And today's Sunday too, so no matter if I came out here at midnight to make a video, there'd be background noise. So long story short about the piston and the caliper, if you have, let's say you have the bleeder all the way out, the piston wants to go in, but you put the bleeder back in, and then you can't squeeze the piston anymore, then that would mean you would have the brake line would be collapsing or something, just to make it clear, because I'm not sure if I explained that right before. So, okay, so we'll tighten all this up here. And the top bolt, I'm going to have to use the wrench on it because I can't get the socket in there. And I'm pretty sure I said 17 millimeter you'll be using. I bought all the brake parts from Napa. They're good quality parts, so certain things I'll buy from Advanced Auto, but I always buy brake parts from Napa. I always had the best luck with brake parts from them. Okay, so that's that for that. You got the brake pads? Please, Miss Lisa. Thank you. Brake pads. No, we're not using that, and I'll explain why.
Just so it's one of each, right? One with the clip and one without. That's the sensor.
Yes. And this one would have to be. You got it right. Like that. No, give me another one with the sensor. Please. Yeah, that this one was wrong.
You do this the wrong side.
No, the thing is, okay, so this is going to be your inner pad. The other inner pad has a sensor on the opposite side, but you want to use the one that you're matching up with the old pad, the new one, and this is the right one right here. And the outer pad doesn't matter which. Okay, so we got this in, the inner one in. you want to make sure your pads, see how they're moving real nice and easy, and that's what you want. And make sure, like I told you before, where these pins are here, move in and out really easy, and then you're good. And then you can stick the caliper back on here. Okay, so yeah, I had to get in a different angle to catch these 14 millimeter bolts here that hold the caliper to the bracket here. And yeah, if you think of it, this is a big help by putting a lug nut on here. This way the rotor won't flop around on you when you're trying to catch the bolts for the bracket and the caliper too. So okay, so that's it. I'm going to close this video here, and I hope you understood about what to check for with frozen caliper pistons and a bad brake hose. And that was mainly why. There's a million videos probably on doing brakes. Yeah, these are nice rotors too. I like the cross hatches in them and everything. That's why I like these Napa ones. They're really good. The pads and the rotors were like $165 with the tax, which isn't bad. They're pretty heavy, the rotors too. It's got a pretty heavy duty brake system on it, you know, double piston calipers and everything like that. So I hope somebody gets something out of this video, and I want to thank you all for watching. I guess I'll see you guys all on the next one, and stay safe.